All right, in this module, we are ready to deploy our website, and we're going to deploy it to GitHub Pages. And to do that, we need to set up a GitHub repository, push our website out there, and then work with some settings to get our pages served on GitHub IO. Before you start, be sure to test your application and make sure everything is working the way you wanted. And clean up your code. If you have any test code around, you can just get rid of that. So we have a nice clean website, and I'm going to open this with Fiverr, I can run some quick tests, just making sure that everything is linked together well and that my images are working correctly. You can see here all I've done for the purposes of this course is to copy the sample of images up into my main section, so up into the root. So these are looking good. These all look the way that I would want them to look. The next thing I might do is we've been doing a lot of work to optimize our images, and we just showing that they are everything's behaving responsively for us. But we can go out in Chrome DevTools and run Google Lighthouse. So I'll run that just for the desktop. And this will give us some ratings on performance that will help us to see the fruit of our work that we have done this. You might try, for your own experimentation, changing the sizes of your images and removing F-Auto and Q-Auto, and you'll see a different result. But here we're getting 100% performance. So at this point, we're ready to start the process of deployment. And you'll find back in the README the steps that we're going to do. So we're going to add a new GitHub repo. And we'll start with that. We just click plus, new repository. And I'm just going to call it the same thing. I've got this in a folder called portfolio-project. So I'll just call it that same thing, project to prep images for web. All right. And I need to pick myself as the owner. And then with that, I can create, I don't need to add any of these extra files that are already in there. Create the repository. And then with that, GitHub gives me some instructions on what to do next. And what we're going to be doing is pushing an existing repository from the command line. So I'm going to just grab this. Actually, yes, we will create, we need to create a new repository from the command line. But we don't have to do all these steps because we already have a README. All we need to do, and we don't need to create the README, we just need to do a get init, and then we're going to add the files that we have. We actually have many more than just a README. And then we are going to commit, and if we need to, we'll branch to main. We like to use the main rather than master, the old way to do it. Then we'll remote add it and push the origin to main. So to do this, we'll start with get init. And if you haven't done a lot of this, you can just follow along what Git is doing. And so that's created a local repository for us. So if I say git status, it shows up in red because I haven't added anything. The next thing I want to add everything, and so I'm just going to do a get add dot, and that will add all of the files that are in this that are below the current directory, which in my case is the root, to my local repository. So now if I do get status, I see that it's green. They've been staged. And so the next step, I don't need to add a README, but I do need to do a commit. So, and I'll just use the GitHub recommendation. I'll call it first commit. You could be more verbose in describing what you've done here. All the work that you've done could be described in this message here, but we'll commit that. And then I just want to check on my branch. So a get status, I already am in main, so it created main by default. Now I'm going to add this this new GitHub repository as to my origin here. so that they can talk to each other. And then I will push up to main. So push to main. And that pushed all my files up. So at this point, if I go back to my head of my project here, you can see I'm in main, and here are all the files. They've been pushed up. So now I'm ready to do the deployment. And to do that, I'm going to go to settings, and then I'm going to go to pages. And then from here, I'm going to stick with deploy from a branch. I'm going to choose the main branch and then just hit save. What's going to happen now is GitHub.com will send these out to the GitHub IO server. So it's able to serve up HTML, JavaScript, CSS. So we have a good web server there that we don't have to pay any extra for this. It's part of what GitHub offers. And it will give us a link that we can use to share. So we are getting full deployment. If we had a more complex project, GitHub IO can actually serve up, well, it will just serve up JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but GitHub can actually allow you to set up more complex projects. Like with GitHub Actions, you can actually have it do a lot of kind of DevOps work for you. We won't get into that here. The other thing I want to do, though, is I want to click this Enforce HTTPS. This just is going to make it so that when we serve from GitHub IO, it will serve our pages as HTTPS, which is the secure server, rather than HTTP. And in general, that is going to be a better situation for you. Now, I just refreshed this, and you can see it's giving me a message that my site is live, and it's at Becky Peltz Me Portfolio Project. So Portfolio Project is the name of this repository. This is Becky Peltz Me is because I have put my own domain name into GitHub. And you can set that up if you want to. There are a lot of options around that. If you haven't set up a domain with GitHub, you will probably just see something like www.github.io/portfolio project / maybe your account name / actually it'll be your account name.github.io / your repository. But once you've got that, you can go visit the site, and there it is. Everything that we had locally is now up there, and then this would be the link that you would want to share in our Canvas course for the assignment. All right, that's all you need to do.